Hello, and welcome to a key match in Season 75 of League in Division D4. And before I talk about this board, I'm going to show the standings. So we have gamrevinu, I don't know how to say that, against Universal Flames. Gamrevinu went 3-3 with Spiraler, so they will need 2.5 to force a tiebreak, or 3 points to win the division and promote. And Reza 70 and Yak Yak are still to play, so Universal Flames can't guarantee survival. But obviously, the more they win, the better. And I believe they need at least 4 to have a chance of staying up, given that 2 go down. But yeah, let's get into it. This board has pretty much everything you need. There's trashing from Scrap, although it's pretty bad with coppers. Village from multiple sources. There is Dominate in terms of Alt VP. There's also Duke and Fairgrounds. So my intuition is Dominate is going to be the most relevant of those. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. We got Enchantress for draw. Apothecary can be draw, although I don't think I would go for it here. And Battle Plan is draw, Warlord is draw, Distant Shore is kind of draw. Yeah, a lot going on. I think Scrap Enchantress would be my open. Definitely Scrap on one of them. There's always a risk if your opponent gets Battle Plan and you don't take one, then you won't have control over the pile, and they can potentially take all of the Warlords from you, which would be pretty sad. I guess Warlord might push towards playing with Apothecary, combined with the poor copper trashing. And there's some synergy as well between like Apothecary and Plaza. But I think there's enough like different cards on the whole that Warlord is not super punishing. Anyway, Scrap Old Map. Yeah, I quite like that as well. Old Map has nice sifting to get back around to Strap. And is obviously like non-terminal. So if you collide it with Scrap, you can play Scrap for ideally Card Horse probably on the early trashes. Enchantress is good because you might hit your opponent's Scrap and then they're behind on trashing. I like the Battle Plan there on 3. I would say you probably don't want to hit 5, so you can probably take Action Horse off this Scrap. Yeah. Like the only 5 you'd want is Seaway, but you don't particularly need that. There's Scrap for plus buy and Workers Village. And we don't desperately need plus buy right now. Could take a Workers Village now still. Just a Battle Plan that seems pretty reasonable. I would quite like a Seaway Archer here, I think. Archer is a pretty good attack and is also good in the deck because of enables Battle Plan to draw. And then the Seaway actually applies to the whole pile, not just the Archer. So when you play Battle Plan or Warlord as well, you'll get the plus buy. Pretty sad turn here. But they are rotating and taking a warlord, I assume. Seems pretty reasonable. I would have probably played the horse before the battle plans in case you find archer. Interesting. Saving the horse doesn't feel correct to me. I think you'd much rather try and play archer because, yeah, like you've just seen your opponent had a pretty bad turn. They're about to trigger a shuffle as well. So the attack hurts slightly more than usual as well. Also, if you don't play your horse when you draw it the first time, it's kind of no longer draw because you've had to draw it twice, and then you get 2 cards worth of draw out of it. Not that you should always play every horse in your hand, obviously. So it's 2 all on the warlords, I think. I would say both players want a second Enchantress, and then kind of a bit of everything else. It's only Universal Flames that has the Archer at the moment, so probably worth picking one up with Seaway. Yeah, nice. I don't think there's any point rotating particularly. Doesn't really matter where that pile is at the moment, and anyone can rotate it whenever they want. I guess you could consider rotating the Odysseys with Battle Plan. I would say Voyage is pretty bad because of how it interacts with durations. And here a lot of the draw is duration draw. So, like, let's say you play Enchantress and Warlord and Voyage, and then next turn you'll draw a bunch of cards. You won't be able to play most of them. And then you're probably not going to play, again, Warlord Enchantress. So your next actual turn is going to be kind of messed up. So yeah, I wouldn't play with Voyage here. Sunken Treasure doesn't seem amazing, but it's also, I would definitely pick one up because you can get a couple of apothecaries. You can get Distant Shore for cheap. I do like the way Sunken Treasure interacts with like potion costs in particular. It's always fun to pick up like a golem or an apothecary with one. And yeah, you can obviously rotate the Odysseys with Battle Plan because you can rotate any supply pile. Neither player has a village yet, which can come in the form of, or any of the villages. I would say probably Throne Room is the best. Because if you manage to throw in Battle Plan or something, then you get an extra kind of lab effect potentially. I guess like we've got 8 already, so we don't need to play Archer for the money. So maybe Enchantress is better because I would prioritize draw slightly more than the Archer attack. The Enchantress is not actually going to affect Universal Flames because of Scrap. They can just pick the Scrap, but I would play Enchantress and pick up. Could be Double Throne, could be like Throne, Workers Village. I don't like Plaza. That definitely seems the worst of the villages. Like sure you can discard copper and maybe like bank up a couple of coffers if you're not using all of your money. But until you have apothecary, that doesn't seem super useful. I guess you don't really need the plus buy from Workers Village, so maybe it's better than Workers Village. But I like Throne Room here. Universal Flames in a very similar spot. Again, I would probably say Enchantress is better, and then take like Double Throne. Oh, I really don't like that. Aside from the fact that I wanted to play Enchantress this turn, now you just don't even have another one. You got no duration balance, which is obviously the most important thing in Dominion. I mean, they should just buy another Enchantress. Definitely not gold. Nice that they're listening. So, are they going to rotate all the way or stop at Sunken Treasure? I would quite like to pick up a Sunken Treasure, to be honest. Yeah, I think just play Warlord Archer, scrap a copper, pick up Sunken Treasure. The Distant Shore is good as well because it feeds estates to your scrap, and Apothecary as well. But yeah, I think I'd rather get Distant Shore and then get Sunken Treasure and gain Distant Shore later, rather than spending the coffer to get Distant Shore now. I'd probably throw in Plaza, but it's not unreasonable to throw in Warlord or something. And I would also pick up a Sunken Treasure here. You definitely pick the scrap. The only thing you'd be upset about drawing if you picked the scrap would be the second Enchantress. But that's not really that bad. They did get lucky to find Warlord though. I wouldn't take a second Sunken Treasure. I think that's too many. So yeah, second Throne Room I like. There's potential merit to a second Sunken Treasure in that it can get you two things in one turn, whereas if you get one thing one turn and then try and get one thing the next turn, maybe you've played it already. And I guess you can then scrap it after you're done with it. So it wouldn't be crazy. But I do like getting the extra throne in the deck. It wasn't even an extra throne, that was just their first throne. Not sure what to buy on 6. I would say gold is defensible at this point. But still probably not the best. Yeah, I don't mind the second Sunken Treasure. I guess the dream is this turn we can get 2 Distant Shores. You'd probably want another scrap to go with them, because ideally you're scrapping the estates as they come in. And one thing I haven't mentioned yet, but is also relevant all VP, is territory, where we have 7 different victory cards. So territory can get up to 7, which is pretty good, obviously. Apothecary putting in work already, drawing 3 cards, pretty nice. Tough discard decision, that. Maybe Sunken Treasure is better than Archer, given that Distant Shore is right there. I think I slightly prefer discarding Sunken Treasure, but I can understand not wanting to get Archer attacked next turn. I really don't like scrapping an Enchantress and then buying another one. That doesn't seem to be productive, in my opinion. Because you want to buy another one for sure. We could have scrapped the silver to draw the Sunken Treasure and just not play the Enchantress. I would say Enchantress Throne Room. Absolutely no respect for duration balance. Yeah, I think I like picking the scrap there. How many coppers do we have down there? We got quite a lot. You could definitely throw an apothecary. Just the one is fine as well. Throwing battle plan is also nice. I don't know about throwing there. It's obviously saving actions, but I was thinking the second thing you'd want to throw in might be Archer, just for the payload. I guess we got the extra coffer from Plaza playing twice, so maybe it's the same. Definitely take another distant shore. And with 10, I think we want one more scrap. But then that leaves 7, which is awkward. Obviously, you can spend coffers. I really don't hate taking the extra distant shore just to deny it, because it is a pretty good card here. You could take like distant shore, Plaza, and then get scraps next turn. Or it could be like distant shore scrap. The issue I always have with the Clashes pile is that I really like Alt VP. So Territory is a card that I would like to get. But this bottom effect just doesn't really happen when Warlord is in the game, because you're not going to want to empty a supply pile, typically. Well, like typically the pile that would empty would be an action card, but you can't take loads of the same action card. So you don't get this gold thing, which is fine. You don't need the gold. But it seems like a weird anti-synergy for cards in the same pile. Another scrap and gold. Yeah, I think gold is just a lot worse than denying the distant shore. Even if all you do is scrap the distant shore, like you'll get the silver, you get a horse, and a coin. That's basically a gold. I wonder if you just leave this on top for next turn. It doesn't seem to be much benefit in drawing it. Oh, we've got a third throne room that we can't play. When did we get that? I guess we wanted to get around to Archer. And I'm now reminded about the lack of Enchantress. No, they trashed their second one, and then they didn't regain. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, and now I'm upset that I've been reminded of it. Enchantress, Plaza, probably. Could be Enchantress Distant Shore. Yeah, that's probably better. The Plaza just doesn't really do that much. We don't really need Village more than we currently have. Yeah, dominating is pretty good. You can even, I mean, depending on how the game's going, you could even scrap your provinces um, if they're getting in the way. I'm not sure they will, particularly. Because, yeah, like territory is a lot of points as well. Fairgrounds is quite a lot of points, but the effort to get them when the deck doesn't have really much draw. Like there's definitely draw, but we're kind of capped at the amount of draw we currently have. This might be a dubious shuffle to trigger. There's we drew the archer off the top. That's quite lucky. So there's a copper, apothecary. I guess the apothecary's alright. 3 estates. Another copper. This plaza discard was definitely bad if you know you're going to trigger a shuffle, which I think they did. Because that copper's just gone straight into the shuffle and you can't redraw it. But yeah, I think it was the old map play that wasn't maybe advisable. Like you have got duration draw and there's an apothecary on top. So it's not like you've bricked your turn completely, but it's more of a risk. Yeah, I agree. I don't like Voyage. I wonder if it's literally just because it's the only thing they can gain. Is that true? No, they could gain Workers' Village. Yeah, the Voyage, you don't want to play the Voyage. Like having it is also not great. Gold again. Yeah, I'm not sure about the gold buying. Especially when you have just failed to draw deck. I would say a general rule is unless you're like if it's a board where you're trying to draw and you're not successfully drawing deck, you don't really want to add payload. I don't understand. I guess we can't play that throne room actually. That makes more sense. I'd forgotten that we had too many. And probably you want to scrap the estate before you play old map, just because it gives you like 1 card more information for what to discard to old map. This is going to be really bad if we don't get to Enchantress or Warlord. Guess the benefit of bricking your next hand is that you get away with the archer attack. You should probably discard estate, honestly, because of apothecary. Pretty marginal though. we're blessed with goals from territory because of distant shore. I guess you put battle plan on the bottom, or maybe it doesn't matter if you're drawing everything anyway. So yeah, scrap an estate and hope to. Yeah, I would take maybe card horse. I don't think you're gonna need the action. Yeah, definitely card horse, I would say. And then really hope that you draw something good off of Warlord, off of battle plan, like Warlord. Rip. Oh. So you've half got away with it. Not really anything good to gain. I guess one workers' village. I can't remember who has the current workers' village. Oh yeah. So that's fine for them. Probably territory. Duchy. I'm unconvinced if duchy is better than keeping the coffers. This has become quite sloggy because of the direction that the players have gone in terms of adding payload. I would say Enchanting Truce and just buy a territory, probably. Definitely pick the voyage. Not sure why we're threatening Plaza instead of threatening Distant Shore. We don't really need the village, particularly. There's definitely a consideration at some point of keeping your last estate because it like bumps up your territory points. Congratulations to Lynette in his rivalry against Universal Flames. Always important to kick people while they're down. That was a joke, obviously, in case that wasn't Sometimes my sarcasm is not read very well because I tend to be quite monotone. Like a dominate, yeah. And honestly, just stop here and play your 2 sunken treasures. I mean, this is kind of best case for a voyage turn, and I think it's pretty bad. I guess you can pick something and hope to find... I don't even know what was down there. Maybe Warlord. You could also play Plaza for a coffer. It's not too bad having like more than 2 of actions at the moment because the players are not drawing. So it's quite likely they won't matter that they can't play all 3. Yeah, that is correct. I said at the start, I can't remember what I said. Gamma needs 2.5 for a tiebreak, I think, and 3 to guarantee. And the minimum universal can stay up with is 4. And I think that's if the person in 5th currently gets 3.5. And then that would also go to a tiebreak, I think. But yeah, 4 is probably not enough, even for universal. Presumably scrapping the estate for Cold Horse. And it looks like we're going to get up to dominate this turn, which I would take. Nice apothecary find there. And probably you should protect Warlord. It's not good though. Yeah, I would rather play Warlord than Distant Shore. I obviously haven't been tracking their deck. I don't know what their last card is. I think don't buy anything with the 2. Just keep the coffers. And presumably pick the village. They've got away with it by drawing Enchantress. But I didn't particularly like picking that. I would say at this point, scrapping Sunken Treasure is probably the best thing to be trying to target. Obviously, picking the scrap is pretty good as well. I'm not disagreeing with that. But the Sunken Treasure is not really providing much value. They can take Apothecary this turn though, so that's pretty good. And we can dominate again, which I would definitely do. For sure, Apothecary, dominate. There's no winners there. I realised I forgot to look for a win, but I don't think it was there. Because they're behind on points. They could have, I think, piled maybe. Close. I would scrap Sunken Treasure. I would also, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's their last estate. Maybe it's worth points. I like scrapping Voyage as well. I wouldn't take silver. I think potentially earlier they took too many silvers from scrap. Yeah, I agree with Apothecary. I might have even protected Apothecary from that hand. Seems to give you the best chance of kicking your turn off. I'm not sure why we gained another Voyage after just scrapping it. Like, gaining and scrapping Voyages is not a negative in like a vacuum, but it is when you can only play 2 scraps per turn. Maybe they wanted to lower the Odysseys to try and pile out. I don't know if anything is better than nothing at this point. I would probably, I'd probably pig the Plaza, I'm gonna say, but I'm not sure what to throne. It could be that you just play Apothecary normally and try and find an attack to throne Battle Plan with. I mean, throne old map is basically a lab at this point. As like, well, just old map in general is basically a lab at this point because there's so much green in the deck to discard. Probably Apothecary again. And I guess, yeah, Throne Distant Shore, Throne Battle Plan, they're both labs at this point. Are we close to a win here? We can gain Voyage with Sunken Treasure. And then we need 13. We can't play that Throne Room, which is a bit unfortunate. So scrapping is pretty reasonable. I guess card, coin horse, something. Play the plaza to get some information, and then count. We're currently on, I guess, 10 if you include scrap as being 1 coin, which is not enough. Again, I guess card, coin, something. Horse, probably. We don't really need buys. So, yeah. That. And we are there. Just. Oh, what a slog. So 1-0 to Universal. So we have an endless amount of trashing options. Presumably donate is the strongest, as it usually is. Although I'm not really seeing a great way of scaling up payload. There's no village. So there's not really a great way of playing kind of multiple tragic heroes for payload. You can increase your hand size either through like Church setting aside 1 turn and then you have a big hand the next, or I guess the same with Slay. And Artist is also draw. Artist is kind of the only reliable draw, but it's pretty expensive. And it's also not going to reliably draw you much. I guess best case you have like Church and Pawn in play, and then it's a double lab, the first Artist, and then the second Artist is just a regular lab. So yeah, not a great board, I'm gonna say. I don't know how I feel about Moneylender, but I'm pretty uncertain what this deck should look like and how we build to it. So yeah, I'm not gonna say it's completely wrong, but I'd say generally you don't need a Moneylender with donate. You can always trash it with later with like Church or Crucible. Yeah, I don't know if this board is not just like Guildhall money ish. not much going on. Probably a couple of churches help that deck in the sense of holding money to help hit certain price points. And you can also like hold your green across shuffles later. I can also see just playing with like Tragic Hero as basically just like smithy money. Even if you don't ever activate it for the gold. I don't hate the Swamp Hag. I don't know that it does enough for you. To justify the opportunity cost of playing a different terminal. Gamrevinu does have Guildhall, so yeah, Crucible seems reasonable. Gold seems reasonable. I like that they have a pawn for plus buy at some point. It would have been good to have plus buy this turn, but obviously they didn't have Crucible in hand at the time that they would have wanted it. It's just Province Curse down there, so you can take card buy with pawn. Or maybe card coin. Universal Flames adding plus buy. I don't know. Like it's a nice to have, but I don't know that it's doing that much for you when they could have just bought a gold there. Yeah, unsure. Not sure about trashing the gold. Probably rather trash a curse and not buy anything than turn a gold into Swamp Hag curse. I guess at some point you donate again because the curses are not going out very quickly. I'm not sure now is that point, but it's not crazy. Because if you donate now, then maybe you want to donate again later. We kept the copper. which is interesting. And then we trash the copper. We're really short on money now as a result of trashing our gold, I would say. I do believe that these decks would benefit from churches, but I'm also not convinced that there was a good opportunity, like the best time to add a church. I would say Universal's winning this one though, it seems. It's quite an aggressive play. I don't hate it. I guess it gives you a chance if Universal doesn't play Swamp Hag but buys Province, then you could win, because they Universal will take a curse with this Province. I mean, which they should clearly take. I guess you just do card action from pawn and take the Province, and now yeah, gamrevinu is kind of in trouble because they can't take the tie as first player. So probably you just play Swamp Hag and buy a Duchy. And now there's no curse to come if they manage to Province, but they can't Province. They can trash curse and take a Duchy. Which doesn't help too much, but I think it's still probably the thing to do. I wonder if you add... I was thinking about adding maybe a Crucible there. Because Universal doesn't want Duchy particularly, I would say. I'd say they're trying to buy the last Province, and they had like a turn to spare there because gamrevinu didn't have Swamp Hag in play. So they're probably unable to Province. But yeah, I mean, now they have a 6-point buffer, which is pretty important. I definitely like having the Crucible in deck in these kind of situations, but I think early on in the game they were a bit too obsessed with playing the Crucible. I have absolutely no idea what's in their deck. I've not been tracking it at all. I don't even know how much money they have in deck. Do they have... Do they even have multiple silvers? Or do they just have one silver? Is silver just their only money in deck? So that's probably a green card. What's the win? I think we were 1 coin short of that, yeah. If you buy a copper, then you don't have enough buys. But that's a nice idea. So another one for Universal Flames. Yeah, they would have had 2 buys, but if you're saying buy a copper, then you only have 1 buy left. You can't buy Province Estate after that. I'm gonna say this is a bad 5-2, but fortunately both players have it. This looks like a fun board though. I like this board a lot. There's like first mate, rat, shenanigans. First mate good with forager as well. First mate good with lurker, and Wheelwright. Oh yeah, first mate Wheelwright is like almost an auto pile situation. I've definitely had that in a game before. It was maybe like D tier finals or something. Season 60 something. Mort was commentating. I think I agree with the lurker. I agree with the lurker on the 2-5 because you've just seen, well, because yeah, you might, yeah, no, I think yeah, lurker seems reasonable. I don't like highway. I much prefer the amulet gain. It's one of those that it's like, I think particularly relevant on the opening when you have a 5-2, where the card you want is actually like a 3-cost trasher, and you have to buy it on 5, which hurts, but it's still better than buying a 5 that you don't need. Yeah, I guess relevant with like amulet or hermit or steward, quite a lot, comes up quite a lot. But yeah, I'm definitely guilty of trying to spend all of my money because it feels like you're wasting it. I would say you're trying to score all in one turn here. So I'm going to say that this is a highway mega turn kind of board, but that's contingent on one person kind of dominating the highway split. If it goes 5-5, then you can't really take out the provinces in one go. But I think that's what you should be playing for, because there is draw in first mate, but the draw gets worse when you have victory cards in deck. You can obviously like sift with dungeon and alley, and I guess you can discard them with wheelwright. So it's not going to completely ruin the deck, but they will get in the way. What's Colonnade? Gain an action card. Yeah, those points could be semi-relevant. I don't think it's something you should be focusing on too much. I don't like taking a coin with amulet just to buy forager. I'd much rather be getting thin. Because once we're thin, the gains are just like gonna kind of explode with wheelwright and lurker stuff. I really don't like the highway. Like first mate is so much value here. It might not definitely line up with where you want it to, but I think it's like reasonably good odds that it will. And if it does, then you're gonna have a great turn. Gamrevinu keeps putting stuff in the trash. I guess just like hoping that Universal doesn't have lurker in hand. But I would say that's generally not advisable. So definitely play forager. You could play lurker and take the lurker out, but I don't know if you want the extra lurker right now. I'm unconvinced. I guess we get the colonnade points. That's reasonable. But yeah, neither player has draw yet. Which, oh, one player has draw. How exciting. I would say it's more defensible to take the lurker out of the trash when you've got a first mate in the shuffle. But still seems close on whether it's better than nothing at the moment. They decide it's not better than nothing. Definitely trash the copper. Yep. Yeah, there's no worry about like running out of forager food by trashing stuff with amulet, because you can always gain stuff with like wheelwright or lurker, or amulet can even gain silver. And you will need forager for plus buy at some point if you're pulling off some kind of highway mega turn. It does feel like the kind of board where there's a lot of promise, but the decks in reality never come together in the mirror, and then it just ends on a 3-pile, which is currently my prediction for what's going to happen. I've not been paying attention to the highway split, but yeah, it seems like Universal's winning the highway split, but has no draw. I think long term the highway split is important, but Yeah, like early on in the game, you're going to get more value out of first mate. Yeah, I think I quite like that choice to rat at the end there. Probably take just another first mate with these lurkers. I would probably play the second amulet, trash another copper. I don't know how good the chances are that someone could win from this board state. Seems like it's probably too many gains at the moment. We haven't quite got enough stuff in deck for a kind of like... Oh, that seems like a really dangerous amount of lowering. Yeah, unfortunately, universal dudding, which is not that it's not that unfortunate. I don't think that they were very likely to kick off. So I guess you just take a first mate here and maybe two first mates, and then hope you get another turn. That's a nice draw. Yeah, this is enough gains, but it's not a win, right? Because they're behind on points. So I guess you gain a wheel right here. Is that accurate? Maybe maybe you want to gain... Yeah, I don't think the wheel rate really does you anything. Could just be an alley. Because you can't really gain anything with the wheel right. I guess you can play highway and then discard lurker for alley. Yeah, that seems better than nothing. Or like better than the other way around. That's pretty reasonable also. And this surely has to be a province. Yeah, Universal has 6 lurkers, but they only have one first mate down there. Alleys are better than nothing for sure. So you take at least one free alley. Cabin Boy, I don't understand. That's if you think you have 2 more turns, which there's no way you do. Forager seems bad because you're lowering. I would say 1 alley, 1 dungeon is my final answer. Honestly, not crazy to go like alley estate or something if you think that extra point might be relevant. Because as player 2, yeah, it's potentially pretty relevant to have a 3-point lead over a 2-point lead. This is pretty sad. One more first mate and a duchy, probably, if you take coins off amulet. Yeah, I mean, like it's not like their deck should be working that much better than it is, but they have bottom deck their first mate. I think this should be a duchy. Probably play alley now because you don't want the amulet. And ideally want to find a first mate quite soon. I guess you could play Wheelwright. But no, yeah, I think alley seems better here. I would say don't discard anything. We're going for it. That is the absolute height of ambition, and I respect it. Oh, that. We had that, didn't we? If we discarded amulet instead of forager. If we discarded amulet, I'm pretty sure we win because we can luck 3 foragers and then buy forager duchy. Yeah, I mean, there's like no situation really where you'd rather have amulet than forager, is there? I guess you could have drawn a province, but then you just don't play it. Right, now, what forager first, please. Yeah, I mean, we've just missed out on 2 draw there. That's pretty. It's not going to matter. But that was pretty unnecessary. Why are we discarding copper? Anyway. They should find this win. Yeah. I don't know why we needed the extra lurker. Yeah, that is 3-0 for Universal at the moment. This board is... Yeah, I don't hate tack. It is the only draw. And then you can like raw carriage stuff like Bard or Messenger as payload. Having the 5-2 is crazy good, and they both managed it again, which is quite impressive. Both find the same turn 3 as well. I would say Messenger Scheme. Could be Bard. I don't hate Bard. I think the scheme helps you more than your opponent after how good your turn 3 was. Great minds think alike and all that. Universal, pretty good turn as well. Manages to find the sentry and takes the silver, which I agree with. No sentry this turn. Maybe carriage. Could be tack already. Could be... I don't know. Junk Dealer has limited value. It's okay. But with Seller, Sentry is pretty reliable. Similar choice for Universal. They don't have the Messenger, so Raw Carriage is not as good. Junk Dealer seems quite reasonable. I hope they don't click gold. Second Sentry is okay. I think this should be Carriage. I don't know. I struggle knowing when to put the tack in because it's yeah, it's pretty awkward. Like the first time you play it, you're not going to be buying anything, most likely, and then you have a great turn, and then again you don't manage to play attack at the end of it because you didn't manage to get a second one. but I think in order for you to buy attack on the turn that you play attack, you would need to have 2 carriages first. Because you'd need like a village effect, and then you can play messenger twice and then attack. But I don't know. Wonder if you discard the seller there. Or maybe discard the scheme. Basically to give yourself a better chance of trashing something on the 2nd century play. Who got barred? When did that happen? Gamrevinu last turn. I think we call that on Sentry. Probably call the carriage now. I guess we call it now instead. Presumably discard. I don't know what's down there, but it must be rubbish. Yeah, I don't mind the attack. I would have liked 2nd carriage, I think, but it seems defensible. This should probably be carriage. Yeah, this has gone surprisingly badly for both players after having the 5-2 on a sentry board. I mean, they also trashed. They both trashed 2 cards on turn 3, and since then it's not been working. Yeah, I don't like the gold. You might as well discard the silver because you're not going to play it this turn. And then probably Throne Scheme. Yeah, discard. Hoping to find the junk dealer, I guess. Yeah, see, this is the awkward situation you're in, where you kind of don't want to play the tack, but then why did you buy it? And if we play it now, then next turn we're like way overdrawing. Yeah, it's pretty awkward, like the early build order. I don't think anything is better than nothing. I think that second century play was probably a mistake when we had Cellar in hand already. And you can play Scheme because you're gonna flip the deck with Messenger anyway. So you don't have to worry about triggering a bad shuffle. This is pretty unfortunate. Call Carriage on board and hope you get the whatever it is, the draw a card thing. Wait, is it Sea's Gift? I'm terrible at naming the boons. I think that should just be more Carriage. I more Bard and Messenger is actually not getting you more money because then you have to call a carriage on like a cantrip to get the village rather than calling the same carriage on your payload card. So yeah, that Bard is not helping. You're really constrained by the number of carriages you have. That's basically the main thing you want to maximize. But hopefully this turn, gamrevinu can carriage a cantrip to get a village effect, play Junk Dealer to trash Cellar, I would say. Play one of their payload cards twice with Carriage, and then play Tactician and buy Tactician. That was my plan from earlier, which required the 2 carriages. I guess because you have more payload cards than you need, you can also just call Carriage on your scheme. Fortunately, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you discard as long as it's not Tactician. We are finally on our way to success. Double carriage. Although I feel like, yeah, I don't know if that's the kind of direction the Universal is planning to take. And at this point, it might be not that beneficial for them to go in that direction. So maybe just, yeah, like short gold scheme. I think that they're probably not going to manage to win this game. But at this point, it's better to commit to the deck that you've built. So we need... I guess one village effect from Carriage. I would say it's better to have called Carriage on the scheme first, just in case you get the, I don't know, like a discard or whatever it's called, Earth's Gift. But it doesn't really matter. I keep getting this visual bug with Carriage, where the number in the bottom left is not accurate until I hover over it. Not sure if that's just me. Yeah, it's still pretty slow progress. Like just Carriage is the only thing that you can add to your deck at the moment. I don't know if we need a 4th sentry. That seems like a lot of sentry. But it will make them pretty reliable in terms of filtering through their green rather than drawing it. So with the Fields Gift, we've managed to hit 11, which is pretty nice. I guess we could have done it. Could we have done it anyway? I don't think so, because it effectively got us 3 money, because it meant we didn't have to call Carriage for a village effect. I don't like the province. That's too early, when we could finally buy 2 carriages in one turn. And again, the messenger is not actually adding payload. It just pretends that it is. Yeah, I mean, that should have definitely been Royal Carriage ×2, as far as I'm concerned. I think I agree with trashing Junk Dealer. I'm very disappointed after all this building that we're settling for a single province deck with double tech. I would argue Universal has enough sentries now that they can probably take a duchy, which they do. Could have also been a raid, although I think that doesn't actually, the attack doesn't do anything because gamrevinu is overdrawing. This is really not looking good for gamrevinu's promotion prospects. Because it seems pretty likely. Why are we trashing a seller? You might as well filter a silver to get the messenger. And I think that's a bad card on top. I think we should discard that. I don't know what it is, but it feels like we've seen all of our good cards. Is that the duchy? No, we saw the duchy already. That was a scheme. I really strongly dislike that estate buy. Because we know that we don't have to defend against that many points. Don't we? Even with like Field's Gift and Forest's Gift, it feels like they're capped at 14. So maybe they did need an estate just in case that happens. Depends which boons we've already seen since it got flipped. But yeah, I guess it's technically possible that they could have. No, but even if they get province duchy, they were first player. So no, I don't think you needed that estate to defend against anything. And if you don't need to defend against anything, then all you need to do is make sure you can hit province on your next turn. And probably the best thing for that would be like a scheme, because it interacts nicely with sentry. Or maybe cellar. I wonder about. Maybe they would have had enough draw to discard for like a gold or get Mountain's Gift. That might have. Yeah, I'm struggling to think. That could have technically put Province Duchy Estate in range, I think. Yeah, I mean, you just have to play the tack there, I think, because your next turn is gonna struggle without it. Just need to find that gold, and there it is. Yeah, it was a finicky Royal Carriage tack deck. I do respect them going for it. Yeah, I just think they undervalued the carriages. Really, all you need is like one messenger that you'll play all of your carriages on. So the fact that they had two messengers and two bards, I think, was the main problem, because those were basically just nothing buys. So we have League of Bankers. I love League of Bankers, but there's not any way of getting more than we currently have. Although it's still fun with Importer, because you get to open 5/4. And this would be for sure. Yeah, this would be for sure like a Merchant Guild Megaturn, but then we've got Warlord, which sucks. And I wonder if the new galley rules have changed how it interacts with Warlord. It must have done. It must have done a little bit, because it used to take it out of play so you could play another one, but now it leaves it in play, and so Warlord is checking for that. Pretty minor though, because you still can't really play more than two across, or yeah, more than 4 plays across 2 turns. But anyway, let me double check the. Yeah, you can play multiple with Royal Carriage, because you can play all of your carriages. You can play as many carriages as you want because they're not in play, and then you can call all of them. And there's no restriction on calling your reserve card, so you can use carriage to do as many things as you want. The one thing you don't want to do is call a couple of carriages mid-turn before you've played all your carriages, because then you won't be able to play them. But yeah, in general it works. And you should have pretty decent draw with like Cap City, because you can spend the coffers for draw, and galley is draw as well, although you can only play one galley per turn. I'm going to quickly check the standings. So, Universal Flames is half a point behind Yik Yak, who they tied with. So if Yik Yak, currently, if it finishes 4-2, then if Yik Yak wins 3.5 against Reza 70, Yik Yak and Universal Flames will be tied in 4th, and there'll be a playoff. Otherwise, if Yik Yak gets more or less than 3.5 in that situation, then Universal Flames will be below one of Yik Yak and Reza 70. So, given that 3.5 is pretty unlikely, I'm going to say that they need at least one more game. And then I guess every game like swings a bit more in their favor. So if they win 5-1, then they'll be fine if Yik Yak wins 4.5, or if it's 3-all. Is that accurate? That feels accurate. There's probably, yeah. Right. What have I missed? We have some ferrymen taken, which I do agree with. There's a lot of good 5s. Harbor Village, I'm not so sure about over Fortress. There's the chance that it's like you get a coin if you play Merchant Guild afterwards, or I guess Capital City potentially if you discard. But the ability to scrap Fortress seems more valuable than that, because scrap Fortress is actually draw. Usually, scrapping anything is not draw, because you play the scrap and one other card, and then you can get at most one card on one horse out of it. So that's like neutral draw, because the fortress goes back into your hand when you trash it. It is increasing your hand size. Someone's gained an extra ferryman over their allotted 2, although no one's playing with battle plan yet. Maybe it's a mutual understanding after how sloggy game 1 was, that they have agreed not to play with the clash pile. But it definitely seems like you have to play with it if you're playing this kingdom optimally. So they both open Ferryman Scrap, which I definitely agree with. Yeah, I really wasn't paying attention at the start of this game. I would say forums are pretty good. The copper trashing is quite poor, so filtering is good. Obviously, there's just like a lot of filtering, so maybe you don't need forum, because there's Ferryman and Cap City as well. I would agree that if there was no warlord in this kingdom, then getting a lot of ferrymen would be good. Feels like they should be gaining some carriages at some point, but I'm not sure when. This should probably just be, what did we go for? Card, action, coin horse. Yeah, I agree with that. Same again, I would say. I'm a big fan of Fortress. This might be a controversial opinion, but I would say it's more fun than Trail. I think at some point we need to gain other fives. Potentially that was to get the colonnade points, which I would probably agree is correct, to take the last 4 points. And then hopefully we'll start gaining Merchant Guild and Carriage now. If you're drawing, you really just need one Merchant Guild and as many carriages. But yeah, we're not really drawing, so probably you need more than that. What are we thinking about? Thinking about how good our next turn is going to be. Galley. I would probably galley the Cap City over Ferryman. They're both pretty good though. You should play one Fortress first before the Ferryman, so you have more options to discard. You never need more than like the one Fortress in hand for the scrap shenanigans anyway. Yeah, I mean, this kingdom is for sure more fun without the clashes in it. But they do seem good. Could just be another galley on 4. I still don't think it's too late to start taking battle plan as well. But it doesn't seem like the direction that they're going in. But yeah, I think galley is the best of the 4s at the moment. You could make a case for scrap, or another fortress to help you reliably line up scrap. They took a harbour village, which, I mean, harbour village is not really doing anything until you have merchant guild, and even then it's not doing that much for you. We do have a battle plan. When did that happen? Oh, they gained 2 battle plans off of importer. I didn't know that Harbour Village worked with ways. I thought that was not a thing. Because I thought it seems like I'm wrong, but I thought the ruling was that the way was giving you the coin, not Harbour Village. Not the card that you seal. So I didn't think Harbour Village would work. No, it definitely says plays battle plan using where the seal gets +1 from Harbour Village. I've definitely read a discussion on this ruling before, and it's possible I've forgotten which way it went. No one has Merchant Guild yet as well, which is surprising because it's by far the best payload here. Right on cue, we have Merchant Guild and some carriages. Probably should have played Harbour Village before the scrap, just because you get the coin from it. I mean, you also get the coin if you filter with Cap City, so that's fine. We do find Merchant Guild, which is nice, so we can play that 3 times with Carriage. And what do we take? I'm going to say that I'm not sure. Probably Cap City, double scrap. I quite like that. And then you can gain carriage off your importers at the start of next turn. I don't think you want to start buying coppers just at this point. I don't like the second Merchant Guild, because we should be drawing pretty reliably at the moment. Although this turn was not. This turn was galley fueled, and we didn't play a galley, so maybe they're less likely to draw all the way through. But I mean that's why I was thinking Cap City, because you have the 6 coffers from this turn. I mean, could have been 9 coffers, and then you can just turn those into draw. And if you did want another Merchant Guild, that's also something you can gain off your importer. Typically, you'd want to gain the payload components from your importers at the start of turn, and then draw back round to them. And then in your buy phase, you buy the kind of reliability draw components. It's actually pretty awkward to rotate to Warlord with people having so many importers in play, because then they might be the first person to play Warlord on you, which is, yeah, potentially going to backfire. Probably discard Ferryman, and then play Cap City. I think probably Galley Cap City, and then spend 2 coins to draw. It's upsetting me the way that we're just discarding all of our cards. And we're not spending coffers for draw. Yeah, I mean, we'd have got way more money if we'd spent the coffers on draw and then played our payload. It's almost always true that like 2 cards of draw is better than 2 coins. Unless your deck is like really bad. So gamrevinu does now have a merchant guild, but can they get around to it is the question. I think that is not the correct card to keep. I think you should keep Carriage in hand. You've already got like 4 cards worth of search space from your galleys. So we are going to have the Warlord attack online from next turn. So you really want to make the most of this turn while you can. This is a bit of an unfortunate dud, I would say. Probably just call all the carriages. It seems like we need more draw, but we can't really add more draw because we're going to be under the Warlord attack. Maybe top deck a Forum. I didn't see that message. Assuming it was now, then yeah, you can definitely scrap the importer. Because, you know, feasibly the Cap City was on top, and then we would have drawn all the way through. Card action horse. Probably. Maybe you don't need the action. Yeah, I think we mentioned this earlier, where the carriage works as long as you haven't called 2 carriages already this turn. So as long as you play all your carriages, then call all your carriages, it's fine. And no, the importer pile is not a kingdom pile or whatever they're called, so that doesn't count for the 3 pile. I'm not sure if they're in voice chat. Looks like they are. It's still kind of close. It's not unreasonable for someone to maybe get enough buys to pile like scraps as well, but that does cost a lot of money. So yeah, probably not in the immediate future, but a couple turns is definitely something to think about. Especially because people can gain importers at the start of turn with gain stuff with importers at the start of turn. Yeah, we call carriage. I would say a couple of forums would be valuable. Yeah, because you know Universal is going to be playing a Warlord this turn. So you need to start adding more unique things that you can actually play. I would say that Ferryman is not good. If it's just for the sifting ability, it's strictly worse than Forum. And you don't want the importer. It seems like they've emptied the pile so that they can gain a gold with territory. Maybe they also wanted the importer because it gets them an extra, what is it, like 3 coffers from Merchant Guild. I guess that's reasonable. But you can't use your coffers really, unless you can get back to your plus buy. So Universal definitely felt pretty far ahead earlier, and now I'm a bit concerned for them. They just go for province and some coppers. Seems reasonable. It's tough to add much to the deck at the moment that's actually improving it. You should definitely spend coffers for draw. I guess you can discard the coppers as well. I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it? Are we keeping territory to scrap it? That seems pretty reasonable. It's not really worth any points. Maybe you don't want to galley the scrap. I don't think you particularly want to... I really thought we were going to scrap the territory. Why else did we keep it in hand? I think you should protect Capital City there. Because it's almost strictly better than Forum, I would say. They do spend their coffers for another province. I think that's reasonable. There's not that much benefit to saving up loads. I would assume you want to take buy off that instead of action. Because we're not really limited by actions, but I think we are limited by buys. You can discard the ferryman because we're under the warlord attack. You're not going to be able to play it. Probably we call one carriage. Nice to find warlord there. Don't call another one. I think just stop the turn here. That seems pretty reasonable, actually. Getting more draw. Could have honestly called both of the carriages. That would have made quite a bit of sense. Probably just a province. I know the reason you don't. Yeah, you wouldn't want to call both carriages because then they'd be in play this turn, and if gamrevinu managed to play a warlord, then you wouldn't be able to play any of your carriages. That definitely seems like the sort of thing that I would do and then get punished for. So, is there a way that they're winning this turn. I'm going to say no. Like, it would look like taking carriage and then somehow piling, I don't know, like galleys and take a duchy. That seems pretty out of range. These kingdoms have been pretty sloggy. I don't particularly think that the players have been playing slowly. No one's really reached low time, have they? It's just long games. I'm getting pretty peckish. I would probably want to call carriage on this cap city. I'm assuming that's what they're thinking about. Because it's 3 cards of draw. And you can even discard your ferryman and importer. Because you can't play well, you could play the importer, but keep cap city in hand. Good. Is this? No, we're not close to having 32, and there's not enough buys otherwise. Because this is the end of our turn. We can't play the galley or ferryman. So importer, merchant guild, call the carriage, and probably, I guess you could think about sealing the importer. How much money do we have? 8, 11, 24 without sealing it. I would definitely just take Treble Province. Or 25. Oh, I forgot about the League of Bankers. So maybe you do want to seal it to get the estate. That definitely seems correct. Yeah, that should have been a seal to get the extra estate. Because if you get another turn, you're winning anyway. But still seems, I don't know actually. They can take duchy off importer. They play horse first. I don't know why we didn't galley the cap city, but discard importer province and draw. We get more galley, more carriage even. So we've got enough buys. I don't think we've got enough money though, do we? What are we? 17 behind, so we need province for duchies, which costs 28. I don't think we have 28. Can we get more points with territory? Probably not. But it probably should be territory anyway. Maybe like galley, 3 territories. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, does it? Because your opponent has 13 coffers, which I'd forgotten about temporarily. So if you're not winning on province, then you're not winning at all. I don't think we have an estate, do we? No, all the estates are in the trash. So territory is not even extra points. But even if it were, we would be short. Yeah, I think it was just too long to start doing the Merchant Guild carriage stuff. Because they for sure seemed ahead early. And we are into game 6. Which Universal is going second in, unfortunately, and probably needs a win. What do we have here? We got Marquis Prepare. There's Marquis Scepter as well, which I don't actually know how to play. I don't think it's that good though. So I'm gonna say it's not the right deck here. It also gets killed by minion and I guess Enchantress. Well, even if they don't win this one, they've still got a chance, but the odds are seemingly stacked against them. I like Research Enchantress as the open. I guess another Enchantress on 3 here. I think for sure the Marquis Prepare deck is what I would want to be playing. Because, I mean, that's the only village, really, because Scepter's, I want to say, barely a village. If you get minioned before you play Marquis, that is a bit disappointing, because you'd only draw 4 cards from your starting hand instead of 5. That's assuming you had a prepared Marquis. And if you prepare patrons, it's also like additional village on top. I guess the same as if you prepare like any plus action card like peddler. Payload wise, I guess you probably want more like action payload because Marquis is limited in how many treasures it can draw. So yeah, maybe like Jester seems pretty reasonable here. The cursing would also hurt because research trashing curses is quite bad. Minion, I don't know. I don't think it's that good here. Highwayman probably is good, having one Highwayman and some patrons for sure. I think will provide a lot of value. So both players have a Marquis. There was this whole discussion as well before about how to pronounce. I'm gonna stick with Marquis, not Marquis or whatever the other ones were. I had a prepare Enchantress game quite recently, and there was one there was a visual bug on the site, but secondly, it reminded me that it's pretty awkward to try and prepare stuff when you're going to get Enchantress attacked because your prepared action will just be pigged. If you've prepared a research, that's actually quite good because you probably want to pick the research anyway. I would say second research is not that good here because you'd probably rather just draw through the coppers rather than trashing them for no benefit. But your life will be nicer when they're gone. And you can, I guess, research peddlers for a lot of draw. But then, the downside of that is you only see those cards every, 2 turns rather than every turn. Which is why research is quite a lot worse than apprentice as your main source of draw. They decided to pick the Enchantress. I don't know if they realized it was going to be picked. And then taking golds from Camel seems pretty reasonable. I would research a copper and take another Marquis. Not gold. Too early for gold. Because we're not drawing. The good thing about Camel is that you can kind of store the golds away in exile and then release them all at once when you need them. As opposed to, I don't know, some other gold gainers where you need to start maybe earlier than you want the golds. What do they have in hand to prepare? Or did you meant okay for that turn? Yeah, I think probably play the Enchantress and prepare the Marquis under the assumption that what I would have done last time would be buy a Marquis instead of a gold. Then I would probably play the Marquis. What are we taking on 5? Scepter. We'd missed the fact that Peddler was free. I think we had plus buy, didn't we? I don't know. The Scepter is doing that much for you here. I guess you can Scepter in the buy phase, draw up with Marquis, and then prepare the stuff that you drew. That's probably some value. Yeah, I could be convinced. We've trashed our Enchantress. These players love trashing Enchantress. What did she ever do to anyone? Have we got that much down there to begin with? We do actually. Wow. Well, they are really not that thin. So what are we planning to buy here? I would say prepare for sure. Gold for sure. Yeah, Universal is dominating this. I think gamrevinu just like over prioritize trashing when there's a lot of draw. If they just got more draw, you kind of don't really need to trash that much. Because now they're very thin, but they don't have payload. So what did they buy? They bought gold, prepare, silver. I don't like silver. Yeah, I'd rather that was just a peddler. Seems, I mean, it's not ridiculous, but I would prefer peddler. So they are adding golds now. They should add another Marquis, which they do. I guess I forgot we were in the discarding part. We've played one too many cards there, did we? No. Oh no, because we were playing it with Scepter. I'm so used to not counting the Marquis, but I should have been. I wonder about preparing the Scepter as well. You get some benefit of playing whatever. But they've played this kingdom so well. Probably better than I would have played it, based on what I was thinking at the start of the game. I think they should just be scoring. I don't like those buys. We've built big enough that we can just start provincing, I would have said. Probably research the research. I guess they probably want to buy a gold. Patron, maybe. I think you should. You get to order those start of turn things, right? So if you play your Marquis first, then draw with Enchantress, you don't have to discard as much. There's definitely an argument that you actually benefit from the filtering effect more than the extra draw. You might have wanted to prepare those coppers. I guess at least 2 coppers would have been worth preparing. And this, I mean, you can just province, really. Like, there's 0 threat from your opponent to quad. Did they only have 4 buys? I thought they had 5 buys. Did they choose not to buy something? Yeah, turns out prepare just makes Scepter Marquis even better rather than worse. Who knew? Yeah, it's tough to know what you play for here. I mean, you have to play for some kind of dud, but how much of a dud is realistic? I mean, we only have 3 buys unless we play some empty Marquis. So it could be just, yeah, gold province. I guess you take 1 province. You probably want to leave 6 in hand when you've got an action that you don't want, so you can discard it. But still, we're comfortably at 40. Really, really well played by Universal Flames, with their life on the line, and I'm hoping that it's going to be enough for them to stay up, because I feel like they deserve it off the back of this performance. So yeah, that is 5-1 to Universal Flames. So they are now on 13 points. So Reza will overtake them with a 4-2, and Yik Yak needs 4.5 to tie them, or 5 to overtake them. So yeah, still not super likely that Universal is going to stay up, but they've given themselves a very good chance. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Well played to both the players. Cheers. See ya.